waited 6 months only to get my Ireland visa rejected. What? They refused my visa? What the Even though I was so upset about it, but I was also kinda relieved. Because since the beginning, I wasn't even that excited about it, but I was annoyed about waiting 6 months for something that I wasn't even excited about. My Ireland visa just refused. I know that better things will happen for me. It's a sign of universe, yeah. It's telling me that this is not for you. You deserve better. I believe it. It was almost 2 years passing since the very first moment that I decided to move abroad for studying. And after 2 years waiting, I was impatient and frustrated, and I had no energy to make more decisions about new countries, new universities, and new ways to move abroad. So I again talked with my study agency. First of all, they told me that they can do something about Ireland visa, but I knew that I didn't want to wait any longer for reconsidering a visa that I didn't even wanted. So I told them that I made my decision and I want to quit Ireland completely. And as you know, I was already dreaming about Thailand, so I told them to start finding universities in Thailand for me, even though I already had found my favorite university, which was Bangkok University. But when I told them about it, they again confused me with telling me about other countries. Another country that they told me about it was Emirates, and they told me they know some great universities in Abu Dhabi and Dubai. At first I wanted to deny it completely, but then the fangirl inside of me remembered that my favorite singer lives in Dubai. But even though it was crazy, the fangirl inside of me took over the control, and she made me tell my agency that I consider Emirates. But this time I also told them to research about Thailand, and it would be one of my options. So they told me that they would send me the information about both countries, and before they confuse me with more countries, I told them that those countries are enough. Just focus on those two. In the meantime, I was getting closer and closer to my 20th birthday, so I wanted to make a video about it, about the lessons that I learned before 20, and I was so passionate about making that video. Even I can tell you that the reason I was passionate about turning 20 was mostly because of that video, because I wanted to make that video. Yeah, joking. I wanted to record that video, but the same day that I wanted to record it, and after setting all the setup for recording and everything, I wanted to take a shower and style my hair. But the moment I entered the bathroom and I opened the faucet, I realized that we have no water. At first it was so weird for us, so we checked all the water in the building, but we were out of water completely. But when we called the water organizations, they told us that it is the problem with the whole area and the whole neighborhood were out of water. So basically we had no water until the night, and even at night the water didn't came back completely. But the problem was that I procrastinated recording and I gave up by making excuses that I should style my hair and I cannot record my video with my hair not being in perfect condition. But deep down inside I was just afraid of recording and everything, and I just wanted to procrastinate it. That video was important for me and I wanted it to be perfect, and the best way for making something perfect is first trying to push it away until you make sure that it would be perfect. But at the end of the day, when the perfectionist side of myself went quiet at night, I felt so guilty for breaking promises to myself, on top of the annoyance of water outrage and every discomfort that it would make for us. The guilt was adding up to it and it was making me feel terrible. But I also did other stuff, like I kept writing and I posted writing challenge and stuff. Guys, today I wrote exactly 1,500 words. I'm so happy with it, yeah. Now I'm just gonna go walk on treadmill for 10 minutes and then I'm gonna go to sleep. That day was a quiet lesson that if you keep breaking your promises to yourself, you will feel terrible every time. So I quietly made a promise to myself to never break my promises to myself again. A few days later, after the water problem solved, I decided to again record that video. But the same day that I wanted to make that video and record that video, suddenly they wanted to set up a water pump in our building for future water outrages. So the very first moment that I started recording, the building noises got into the way. But this time, I didn't make the excuse and I didn't let myself procrastinate. Instead, I decided to record the video because I really didn't want to be the reason of me feeling bad. So I decided to record the video no matter how awful it turns out. But surprisingly, I recorded that video and it turned out pretty well. Even though I had to take so many breaks in between each sentences, and sometimes even re-record some sentences multiple times because of the building noises in the background. Or when I was talking and then suddenly they would start building and the noises would cut my sentence and I had to stop and wait for them to finish. And also the story behind that video made it so much more special for me. As I was getting closer to my birthday, I was also getting closer to finish my writing challenge, which since the beginning of it I was afraid what if I quit so in the middle of the challenge. But for the first time I kept myself consistent with my content for 30 days and it was actually a new milestone for me, which made me so proud of myself. Today is the last day of my 30 days writing challenge. I'm so happy about it because I can't believe it that I kept myself consistent and I wrote every single day of this challenge. I've never been this consistent in my whole life and I'm so proud of myself right now. I finished my 30 days writing challenge without missing a single day, but even after I finished it, my book wasn't finished yet, which was actually okay for me because I was already in motion and it was easier for me to continue where I was. And because of that, I made an ambitious goal for myself and I decided to finish the third draft of my first book until the last day of April. Today is April 10th and I have the goal to finish the third draft of my book until the end of the April, which was a little crazy for me because I wasn't even halfway there, but that was okay because I loved my story and I could write it even on the day of my birthday. And yeah, I blinked and suddenly it was my birthday on April 23rd, but this time my birthday was different than all of my other birthdays because this time I was saying goodbye to my teenage years and to the world of my childhood, and I was turning 20 and stepping into the world of adulthood, which was both exciting and terrifying. And I was also feeling a grief because of leaving my teenage years behind. So the night before my birthday, I spent so much time with myself, remembering all of my teenage years and my memories, my happy memories, my sad memories, and everything I learned during my teenage years. I stayed awake until midnight, watched my comfort shows, wrote in my journal, and even talked with myself, my teenage self. I thanked her and I promised her I will make her proud. And that was the perfect closure for my teenage years. The next day, I woke up excited about my birthday and also the fact that we wanted to celebrate it in my granny's house. But the lack of 8 hours of sleep was kinda turning me into a zombie, which for preventing that, I had so many cups of coffee. And for the first time, I tried a Monster drink, which by the way, I fell in love with. And it became a part of my birthday memories, which you need to know something about me that smells, music, and also tastes remind me of my memories, and I really keep them sacred in my mind. Like I have a collection of incense that each one of them reminds me of a certain time, and also each playlist is connected to one incense or one perfume. I know it is a little weird, but I really love that, and that's a part of my life. The taste of that Monster energy drink also became a part of my birthday memory, and it always reminds me of my birthday. Yeah. At the night, we went to my granny's house and we had a great time. I took so many pictures and I could wear something that I really loved. I had great time with my family, but there was one thing missing, like always. I couldn't play my favorite songs. At first, I played a few songs, but then everyone were like, "Oh, your songs are not going with the birthday." I was like, "But I love them." But you know, the power of majority made me give up my favorite songs and let them play anything they wanted. Which you should also know that I love Persian hip hop, and anything other than that kinda annoys me and drives me crazy. So everything was perfect other than the music, which I dealt with it. Yeah, don't worry. The very next day after my birthday, I was taking some rest after that party and lack of sleep and everything, that suddenly some of our relatives called and they told us that they would come over. But I didn't want them to. Because every time I see them, they keep judging me and they keep questioning me and making me feeling so bad and self-conscious. And also, every time I meet them, I should keep my polite smile on my face. That always makes my jaw hurt. So on behalf of my jaw, I tried my best to refuse meeting them, but at the end, they won and I could do nothing, so I had to meet them for dinner. But the thing is that I sabotaged my whole day and wasted on scrolling, which by the way, in that time, I would barely ever spend hours on scrolling. I was so furious that I couldn't help but distracting myself from that. Also, by overthinking everything and by being mad at everyone. But I ended up again polite smiling at them for 2 hours. Though that wasn't that bad that I would think. And I survived that 2 hours, which made me realize that I ruined my whole day for 2 hours that wasn't even that bad. And that was even more annoying for me than enduring my relatives. So that taught me my first valuable lesson of my 20s. Happy birthday, girl! I just wanted to tell you that. My voice is turning back, so I just wanted to tell you that don't ruin your life for just a little thing that will happen in the future. Don't take it too seriously. So I quickly made my peace with it and decided not to make that mistake again, or at least try not to make that mistake again. That lesson also reminded me that I'm done wasting my time. So I decided to once and forever make my decision about the country I wanted to move to. And as much as I was trying to convince myself to consider Emirates, there was also a sound inside of my head that was preventing me from doing that. So I stopped and listened to that sound. It was telling me that for 2 years I listened to everyone telling their opinions about the country I wanted to move to, and I waited for a goal that I wasn't even passionate for. But for a year I spent my time dreaming about my dream country, which was Thailand, and I knew by my heart that it was the country that would make me happy, but instead I was listening to everyone other than my heart, which I knew that it only wanted my happiness more than anyone else in this world. That realization made me call my agency and tell them that forget about Emirates or any other country and just focus on Thailand and especially on Bangkok University. But I told them to also apply for other universities too because my goal was to move to Thailand. For the first time, that made me feel like I'm finally in control of my life and I'm finally making the decision by myself, so then I have no one to blame in the future, which was a perfect feeling because it was making me be in the power of choosing my life and choosing my goals. And for the first time, my dream was getting closer to turning into reality, and what was better than that? So the moment that I made my mind and my agency saw that how serious I was, they told me that I should go and renew the translations of my documents, and I immediately started doing that without wasting any time. So in the morning I would go after the translation of my documents, and at night I would still keep writing my book because I was getting closer and closer to the end of the April, and I wanted to finish my book and prove to myself that I can do whatever that I put my mind on. So with all of that focus, and also with the commitments that I had with my story, and also by simplifying the story until I could finally finish the first draft of it. I mean, it was the third draft, but in English it was the first draft, and also all about the change of the story and everything about it, it would be considered as a first draft. So I just wanted to finish it without any perfection, and right on April 30, I finished the third draft of my first book. I finished it with around 45,000 words. It was so huge for me because at first that I started writing my book, and with all of that drama around it, I wouldn't even think that I can make it until, the half of the book. But I made it, and I wrote the entire book only because I started when I was afraid and continued when I was terrified of quitting, and only because I committed to my story and wrote daily, even 100 words a day. But when I finished it, I already knew that it is not the ending of my book and writing. And I ended my book with one sentence, which was to be continued in the second book, which, by the way, I already had the structure, the plot, and everything for my second book. And I immediately started writing it the very next moments after finishing my first book, just as I was slowly taking back the control over my future. Right after my graduation from high school, my family and I finally had so much free time, and I had just got free from studying, so I could spend every day the way I wanted. And especially at nights, I could spend my time with my parents, or we could have dinner, and after dinner, we had this ritual to gather in front of TV and then have tea together. In the meantime, my mom and I had free time, so we could watch K-drama together, which was our favorite thing of all. Even before my graduation, a year before the last year of my high school, we used to watch K-dramas like every day. And after my graduation, we were watching that. Somehow my father got interested, and slowly and gradually it became one of our routines to watch K-dramas while having tea at night. In those 2 years that I was staying at home waiting to move abroad, we always had that routine no matter what. I was always in charge of finding the best K-drama. At a point, we had watched all the good ones and all the trendy ones, so it was getting more and more difficult to find good ones that we would actually enjoy. At some point, I even realized that we watched over 60 K-dramas in 2 years, and I learned so many things from each one of them. And I especially learned a little Korean from them, which I'm not gonna talk about it right now, but I understand a little bit, yeah. By the time that I was getting closer to finally move abroad, those nights were becoming more and more meaningful for me. And because of that, I would keep them so sacred. And no matter what we would do during the day, at the end of the day, we would all gather and have tea and watch some K-dramas. Even in the time that I had so many things to do, I would never skip those nights. But if I want to be honest with you, I would sometimes skip K-dramas, but I would never skip drinking tea together. So I always appreciate those nights we spent together. And if I'm 100% sure of something, that would be the fact that those nights we would spend together, they were never a waste of time. Even in those 2 years that I had to wait. And if I want to keep only one memory of those times, I would definitely keep the memory of those nights.